Have you ever felt it? That quiet hum of anxiety in the dead of night, the feeling of running on a wheel, working harder and harder, but the scenery never changes. You are skilled, you are dedicated. You give your hours, your energy, your very life force to your work. And at the end of the month, you are left with little more than the echo in an empty purse. You look at the world around you, a world of abundance, of comfort, of security, and a question whispers from the deepest part of your soul. Why not me? You've followed the rules you were given. You've done what you were told. But the feeling of being just one unexpected expense away from disaster, it never truly leaves. It's a weight. A constant, invisible pressure that shapes your choices, limits your dreams, and dulls the vibrant colors of your own life. What if I told you that this feeling, this struggle, is as old as civilization itself? And what if I told you that the answer to escaping it is not some new, complicated financial scheme, but a set of simple, timeless truths? First carved into clay tablets thousands of years ago, under the golden sun of the most magnificent city the world had ever known. What if the key to your financial freedom was waiting for you, hidden in plain sight in the dust of history? This feeling of being trapped by money, it's a universal human story. It was being told 5,000 years ago in the city of Babylon. Babylon. The name itself sounds like legend. It's a city of breathtaking wealth, of towering ziggurats and hanging gardens that were one of the wonders of the ancient world. Its walls were so thick, they were considered impenetrable. Its coffers overflowed with gold. It was the cradle of engineering, of astronomy, of commerce. And yet, within those mighty walls, lived people just like you and me. Craftsmen, merchants, musicians, scribes, most of them working tirelessly just to get by. They looked at the staggering wealth of their city and felt that same quiet desperation. They asked that same timeless question: how can I get ahead? It was in this city that a humble scribe named George S. Clason discovered the answers. Not in his own time, but by unearthing their stories. He gathered these parables, these simple tales of ordinary people learning extraordinary secrets, and compiled them into a small, powerful book. A book that doesn't talk about stocks or algorithms, but about the very soul of wealth. He called it The Richest Man in Babylon. I didn't just read this book. I lived it. I was the man with the empty purse. I felt the weight of every lesson, the sting of every mistake, and the profound life-altering relief of every truth. This isn't a book review. This is an invitation. Because the laws of gold are like the laws of gravity, and once you understand them, they can set you free. The journey is laid out before us in 10 parts, 10 stories, 10 truths. 1. The man who desired gold. 2. The richest man in Babylon. 3. 7 cures for a lean purse. 4. Meet the goddess of good luck. 5. The 5 laws of gold. 6. The gold lender of Babylon. 7. The walls of Babylon. 8. The camel trader of Babylon. 9. The clay tablets from Babylon. 10. The luckiest man in Babylon. Let's begin this journey, one chapter at a time. Before we step into the city, we must first understand the ground on which it was built. Our journey begins not with a story, but with a promise. A promise that success, as a concept, is not a product of its time. It is a result of universal laws. The sun that shines on our world today is the same sun that baked the clay bricks of Babylon. Money is simply the medium by which we measure earthly success. It is the tool we use to provide for our families, to build our dreams, to create a buffer against the storms of life. And the principles that govern its accumulation are fixed and certain. Those who learn these principles and observe them thrive. They build magnificent fortunes, are left to the whims of fate, forever blaming luck for their empty purses. This is the foreword's quiet wisdom. It asks you to set aside the idea that your problems are unique to the 21st century. It asks you to believe that the answers you seek are not hidden in complex spreadsheets, but in simple, unchanging truths. The stage is set. The city of Babylon awaits, and its secrets are ready to be told. Chapter 1. The Man Who Desired Gold. Imagine the heat. the scent of sawdust and sweat hanging heavy in the air. This is the world of Bonzir, the finest chariot maker in all of Babylon. His hands are skilled, his work is praised, but his spirit is weary. He sits on the wall of his property, looking out at the city, a profound emptiness carved into his face. His purse is as empty as his motivation. Nearby, his friend Kabi, a musician whose lyre can make men weep, approaches. He too is a master of his craft, and he too is poor. He looks at his friend and sees his own reflection. "Why is it," Kabi asks, his voice barely a whisper, "that we, who are masters of our trades, have but a few coppers to show for it, while men with far less skill parade through the streets, heavy with gold?" This is the question that ignites our journey. It's the cry of every person who feels undervalued, overworked, and stuck. Bensir and Kabi are not lazy. They're not untalented. They are simply lost. They have mastered their work, but they have never learned the work of mastering their wealth. In their shared despair, a spark of an idea is born. They think of their old friend Arkad. They grew up together, played the same games, dreamed the same dreams. Yet Arkad's reality is now vastly different. He is known throughout the land as the richest man in Babylon. His wealth is the stuff of legend. No, they remember him as a boy, just like them. And so, they make a decision. A decision born not of greed, but of a deep, aching desire for a better life. They will go to Arkad. They will not ask for gold. They'll ask for something far more valuable. They will ask for wisdom. They gather their other childhood friends, all in the same boat, hardworking, honest, and perpetually poor, and they set out to find the man who escaped their shared fate. This is the first, most crucial step. The recognition that you don't know the way, and the humility to ask for the map from someone who does. Chapter 2. The Richest Man in Babylon. Arkad listens. He listens to their stories of empty purses and endless labor. He sees the fatigue in their eyes, the desperation in their posture. He doesn't judge them, doesn't pity them. He sees himself in them, the young man he once was, making the same mistakes. When they have finished, he looks at them and shares the single, most profound secret of his life, the turning point from which all his fortune flowed. He tells them of his youth as a humble scribe, working long hours for a few coppers a day. He, too, dreamed of wealth, but it felt as distant as the moon. One day, a rich moneylender named Algamish came to him, wanting a copy of the law carved onto a clay tablet. The work was immense, and Algamish was in a hurry. Arkad, seeing his chance, made a bargain. He would work through the night to finish the tablet, a seemingly impossible task. In exchange, he did not ask for more money. He asked for the secret to becoming wealthy. Algamish, amused and impressed, agreed. Arkad toiled all night. His back ached, his eyes burned, the smell of the oil lamp filled his nostrils. But he finished the work. And as the sun rose, Algamish returned and shared the secret. It was a sentence so simple, so deceptively obvious, that at first, Arkad was disappointed. Algamish looked him in the eye and said, "I found the road to wealth when I decided that a part of all I earned was mine to keep, and so will you. A part of all I earned is mine to keep." Think about that. Let it sink into your bones. When you receive your paycheck, your earnings, who gets paid first? The landlord, the grocer, the tax collector, the credit card company? Everyone, it seems, gets their piece of your labor before you do. You are merely a pipeline for money, flowing from your employer, through your hands, and into the hands of others. Arkad explained this to his friends. The secret was not to earn more, not at first. The secret was to change the flow. The secret was to pay yourself first, before anyone else. He told them his rule. For every 10 coins he placed in his purse, he would only take out 9 for his expenses. The 10th coin, that was his. It was not to be spent, it was to be kept. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. This is not just a financial tactic. This is an act of profound self-worth. It is a declaration that your labor has value not just to others, but to you. That your future is more important than your immediate desires. That first coin you save is the seed from which the tree of your wealth will grow. Your purse, once lean and empty, will begin to fatten. It will have a satisfying weight. And its contents will no longer be just for spending. Its contents will be your slaves, ready to work for you. And with that, Arcad had planted the first and most important seed of wisdom in the minds of his friends. Chapter 3. 7 Cures for a Lean Purse. The fame of Arcad's wisdom reached the ears of the king. He saw a city of immense wealth, yet filled with people struggling to survive. A city cannot be strong if its people are weak. So he called upon Arcad and tasked him with a great mission: teach the people how to build their own wealth. And so, Arcad stood before a class of 100 eager minds. For 7 days, he would give them one cure, one remedy for a lean purse. These were not complex theories. They were simple, actionable truths, the very foundation of a prosperous life. The first cure he began was the one he had shared with his friends. Start thy purse to fattening. For every 10 coins you earn, spend only 9. The simple act of saving 1/10 of your income. It seems small, insignificant, even. But it is the start of everything. It is the discipline that separates the wealthy from the poor. The second cure: control thy expenditures. He then asked the crowd a question. What do you each consider your necessary expenses? They all listed different things, but the truth was, their necessary expenses always seemed to grow to equal their income. This is a law of human nature. Budget your expenses. Do not confuse your desires with your needs. Live on less than you earn. This isn't about deprivation. It's about control. It's about being the master of your money, not its slave. The third cure: make thy gold multiply. It save 1/10 of your income. It must not sit idle. An idle coin earns nothing. It must be put to work. It must become your employee, your slave, earning you more coins. This is the magic of investment. Each coin it earns becomes another worker. Soon, you will have an army of gold, a stream of wealth, flowing into your purse, whether you are working, traveling, or sleeping. The fourth cure: guard thy treasures from loss. Here, the lesson turns serious. The first rule of investment is to protect your principal. Do not be tempted by schemes that promise impossible returns. Do not entrust your money to those with no experience. The brickmaker knows about bricks, not about jewels. Seek the advice of the wise, of those who handle money every day and know how to protect it. The pain of loss is far greater than the joy of a small, safe gain. Be patient, be wise. The fifth cure: make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. Arcad spoke of the deep human satisfaction of owning one's own home. The man who owns his own home has a source of pride, a place of security for his family, and he can direct his energies to other tasks. Instead of paying a landlord, he is building his own equity. It is a cornerstone of a stable life. The sixth cure: ensure a future income. The light of life does not burn forever. There will come a time when you are old, when your ability to earn has faded. You must prepare for those days now. Set aside small sums regularly and invest them for the long term. Provide for your family in case you are no longer there to do so. The wise man builds a fortress of wealth that will protect him and his loved ones in the twilight of his years. And finally, the seventh cure: increase thy ability to earn. The world is ever changing. The man who does not seek to improve his craft will be left behind. Cultivate your own powers. Study. Become wiser. Become more skillful. The more you know, the more you can earn. Your greatest asset is not the gold in your purse. It is the skill in your hands and the wisdom in your mind. For 7 days, he taught these cures, and the people of Babylon listened. They took this simple wisdom, applied it to their lives, and their city became not just the richest in the world, but the most financially literate. Its strength was no longer just in its walls, but in the prosperity of its citizens. Chapter 4. Meet the Goddess of Good Luck. Is wealth a matter of luck? Does the goddess of good luck simply smile upon some and turn her back on others? This was the debate raging in the Temple of Learning. Many argued that luck was a fickle, random force, best courted by gambling and chance. But an old wise man stood up to speak. Arcad told them a story. He spoke of the fisherman who casts his net in the same spot every day. One day he catches nothing. The next day his nets are full. Is it luck? Or is it that he consistently puts himself in the place where fish might be? He spoke of the farmer who plants his crop. If the rains don't come, is he unlucky? Or is the truly unlucky man the one who never tilled his fields or planted a seed in the first place, and so could never benefit, even if the rains were plentiful. The lesson becomes clear. Good luck is not a passive event. It's an active one. It is the child of preparation and opportunity. The goddess of good luck does not visit the procrastinator. She does not smile upon the person who hesitates, who waits for the perfect moment that never comes. She is drawn to the man of action, the one who has already done the work, the one who has saved his coin, who has studied his craft, who has built his reputation. When an opportunity appears they are always appearing only. The prepared man can seize it. To the unprepared, the opportunity is invisible, or it seems too risky, or they lack the funds to act. They watch it pass by and call the one who seized it lucky. No, luck is not a mystery. It is a design. You build your own luck. You build it with every coin you save. You build it with every book you read, every skill you master. You build it with every day you show up, ready to work. You are the farmer tilling your fields. You cannot control the rain, but you can be ready for it when it comes. Stop waiting for luck to find you. Start preparing for it. Action will lead you to the goddess you seek. Chapter 5. The 5 Laws of Gold. The wisdom of Babylon travels. We find ourselves in a caravan, listening to the wealthy Calibab share the most sacred of all financial texts, the 5 Laws of Gold. He tells the story of how Arkad passed this wisdom to his son, Nomasir, by sending him out into the world with a bag of gold and a clay tablet inscribed with these 5 laws. Nomasir lost the gold through foolish mistakes, but in doing so, he learned the true value of the wisdom on the tablet. These are the laws that govern not just the acquisition of wealth, but its preservation. Listen closely, for they are the very commandments of prosperity. The first law of gold. Gold cometh gladly, and in increasing quantity, to any man who will put by not less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future, and that of his family. This is the law of accumulation. It echoes the first cure. It is the foundation. Pay yourself first, always. The second law of gold. Gold laboreth diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field. This is the law of investment. Your money must work, must be a diligent servant, never resting, always producing more for you. The third law of gold. Gold clingeth to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling. This is the law of counsel. You are not an expert in all things. Seek the advice of those who are. Protect your principal. Do not let your ego or your greed lead you to foolish risks. Here, the laws take a turn. The first 3 are about how to attract gold. The next 2 are about how to avoid repelling it. The fourth law of gold. Gold slippeth away from the man who invests it in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar or which are not approved by those skilled in its keep. This is the law of staying within your circle of competence. Arcade's son, Nomasir, lost his first bag of gold by betting on a horse race, a subject he knew nothing about. He lost his second by trusting a brickmaker to buy rare jewels in a distant land. The brickmaker was duped. The lesson is brutal and clear. Do not venture where you are ignorant. The fifth law of gold. Gold flees the man who would force it to impossible earnings, or who followeth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers, or who trusts it to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment. This is the law of avoiding get-rich-quick schemes. It warns against the siren's song of impossible returns. Greed makes a man blind, makes him believe in magic. But gold does not operate by magic. It operates by these 5 simple, unbreakable laws. Violate them, and your purse will empty itself. Obey them, and it will fatten beyond your wildest dreams. This is not opinion. This is law. Chapter 6. The Gold Lender of Babylon. Imagine you suddenly receive a windfall, a bonus, an inheritance, a prize. 50 pieces of gold. The feeling is exhilarating. But it is quickly followed by a new kind of anxiety. What do I do with it? How do I keep it safe? How do I make it grow? This is the dilemma of Radan, the spearmaker. He is overwhelmed. And worse, his sister wants him to lend the gold to her husband, who has a grand but unproven scheme to become a rich merchant. Radan is torn. He wants to help his family, but he fears losing the gold. He doesn't know what to do, so he does the wisest thing a man in his position can do. He seeks counsel. He goes to Mathan, the great gold lender of Babylon. Finds Mathan not in a grand office, but sitting on a rug, eating a simple meal. Mathan listens patiently to Rodden's problem. He doesn't give him a direct answer. Instead, he opens his chest of accounts, filled with the records of hundreds of loans. He shows Rodan the pledge of a farmer who needed money for new tools. Mathan knew the farmer was honest, and his land was fertile. The risk was low, the loan was safe. He shows him the pledge of a woman whose husband was sick. He gave her the loan not for profit, but out of compassion, knowing he might never see the money again. This was charity, not investment. Then he shows him the pledges of men who borrowed for risky ventures, their collateral based on hope rather than assets. Many of these, he explained, were losses. The lesson for Rodan was profound. When you lend your gold, you must separate emotion from business. Is the borrower capable? Is their plan sound? Do they have a reputation for paying their debts? And most importantly, what is your security? What happens if their plan fails? Can you get your principal back? Mathan's wisdom is cutting and clear. It is better to have a little caution now than a great regret later. He tells Rodan that if he wishes to help his sister's husband, he should do so with a small amount he can afford to lose, as a gift. But the bulk of his gold, his precious capital, that must be guarded with the fierce prudence of a seasoned lender. It must be put to work, yes, but only where it is safe. Rodan leaves Mathan's home. The weight of the gold no longer a burden, but a responsibility he now understands. He has learned the difference between risk and foolishness, between helping and enabling. He has learned to see his gold not as a treasure to be spent, but as a future to be protected. Chapter 7. The Walls of Babylon. Look upon the walls of Babylon. They rise from the earth, a testament to human will and foresight. They are hundreds of feet high, wide enough for a chariot to race upon their top. They have stood for generations, repelling every enemy, withstanding every siege. They are the source of Babylon's security, the reason its citizens can sleep in peace. But why were they built? They were built because the leaders of Babylon understood a fundamental truth. A city without protection is a city doomed to fall. Wishful thinking cannot stop an invading army. Hope is not a defense. This chapter uses this powerful metaphor to teach us about our own lives. We, too, are besieged. It's not by armies with swords and arrows, but by the unexpected tragedies of life. Sudden illness, the loss of a job, an accident, the finality of death. These are the enemies that can lay waste to our plans and bring ruin to our families. What are your walls? The first cure saving a tenth of your income is the digging of the foundation. The 5 laws of gold are the blueprint for the wall's design, but the wall itself. The wall is your plan for protection, is your savings, built up over time, ready for an emergency. It is your insurance, a modern invention the Babylonians could only dream of, that stands guard over your family's well-being if you are gone. It is your retirement plan, a storehouse of provisions for the winter of your life. A man without these protections is living in an open field, is exposed, vulnerable to any passing storm. The walls of Babylon were not built in a day. They required immense labor, planning, and consistent effort over many years. So too with your financial walls. You build them brick by brick, coin by coin, with every wise decision you make. The feeling of security that comes from a well-protected life is immeasurable. 8. It is the freedom to take calculated risks, to enjoy the fruits of your labor, to live with peace of mind, knowing that you have prepared for the unexpected. We cannot prevent every tragedy, but we can, like the wise builders of Babylon, construct walls so strong that they can withstand the greatest sieges life can throw at us. Chapter 8 and 9. The camel trader of Babylon and the clay tablets from Babylon. We now come to the most personal, most human part of our journey. This is not a story of accumulating wealth, but of escaping the crushing slavery of debt. We meet Dabasir, who returns to his hometown of Babylon, a city he fled years before to escape his creditors. He was not a bad man. He was simply irresponsible. He and his wife lived a life of luxury they could not afford, always promising to pay tomorrow. Soon, the weight of his debts became a monster that haunted his every waking moment. He lost his friends, his self-respect, and finally his freedom, only to be captured and sold into slavery in Syria. His story is a cautionary tale, but it is also a story of incredible redemption. His master's wife saw something in him, a glimmer of the free man he once was. She asked him, if you were a free man, would you have the soul of a slave or the soul of a free man? This question pierced him to the core. A slave accepts his fate. A free man changes it. She told him a profound truth. The soul of a free man looks at life as a series of problems to be solved and solves them. With this newfound clarity, Dabazir planned his escape. But he was not just escaping his physical chains. He was planning his escape from the spiritual chains of debt. He returned to Babylon, not to hide, but to face his past. He went to his creditors, the men he had wronged. He did not beg, did not make excuses. He stood before them as a man with a plan. He presented them with a tablet, a blueprint for his own financial salvation. His plan was simple, yet revolutionary. It was the wisdom of Babylon applied to the problem of debt. First, he would live with his family on 7/10 of what he earned. This was for their living expenses. Second, he would use 2/10 of all he earned to pay back his debts, divided fairly among all his creditors. And third, the final 1/10, that was his. To keep this was the most important part. He understood that a man cannot climb out of a hole if he has no hope for his own future. He had to be building his own wealth, even as he was paying for his past mistakes. This plan, carved on 2 clay tablets that were later discovered by archaeologists, is a testament to the power of determination. It shows us that no matter how deep the hole you are in, there is a way out. It requires humility, a concrete plan, and unwavering discipline. Debt is a formidable enemy. It drains your energy, steals your joy, and enslaves your soul. But Dabasir shows us that it is an enemy that can be defeated. It's not by running, but by facing it with the heart of a free man. Chapter 10. The Luckiest Man in Babylon. Our final story is about the foundation of all success. It is about the one thing that can turn every lesson we've learned into reality. It is about work. We meet Sharunata, a successful merchant who tells a story about his own beginnings. He was once a slave. His first partner was Arcade's son, Nomasir, the same young man who had lost his father's gold on foolish schemes. Arcade, in his wisdom, had made a deal with Sharunata. He would make him his partner, but Nomasir had to work alongside him, not as a boss's son, but as an equal, as a worker. At first, Nomasir was resentful. He saw work as beneath him a punishment. He grumbled. He slacked. But Sharunata told him a secret he had learned in his own life. He said, "Work is the best friend I have ever known. It is the thing that has brought me every good thing in my life." This idea is radical, especially in a world that often dreams of a life without work. But Sharunata explains, when you work, you build more than just a product. You build a reputation. You sharpen your skills. You meet people. You create opportunities. The lazy man sees work as a burden. The wise man sees it as the very vehicle of his advancement. Gradually, Nomasir began to change. He saw the respect Sharunata commanded, not because of his wealth, but because of his tireless effort and his sharp mind. He started to take pride in his labor. He started to see opportunities where he once saw only toil. He began to think, to plan, to contribute. He learned that the harder and smarter he worked, the more lucky he became. The best deals seemed to find him. The most profitable ventures opened up to him. He came to understand the final, crucial lesson of Babylon. Wealth is not an accident. Luck is not a mystery. It all begins with our relationship to the one thing we can truly control: our own effort. Work, when embraced not as a curse, but as an opportunity, becomes your greatest ally. It is the fire that forges character. It is the key that unlocks the door to every other law of gold. The luckiest man in Babylon was not the man who was given gold. It was the man who learned to love the work that created it. And so, our journey through the sun-drenched streets of Babylon comes to an end. But our own journey is just beginning. What have we truly learned? We have learned to pay ourselves first, to claim a part of our life's energy for our own future. We have learned to control our desires, to live with intention, not on impulse. We have learned to make our money a loyal servant, working for us day and night. We have learned to protect our hard-won capital with caution and wisdom, to build walls of security around our lives. We've learned that the goddess of good luck favors the person of action, that the slavery of debt can be defeated with a determined plan, and that work, our oldest friend, is the engine of it all. But beneath these rules, beneath the parables of gold and clay, lies a deeper truth. This book is not about becoming rich, not really. It is about becoming free. It is about reclaiming the dignity that is lost when we are controlled by money. It is about trading anxiety for peace, desperation for purpose, and servitude for sovereignty. It is about building a life, not just making a living. The walls of Babylon may have crumbled to dust, but the wisdom they protected is eternal. It lives on, not in stone, but in spirit. It lives on in you. Your purse is waiting to be fattened. Your future is waiting to be built. The soul of a free man or a free woman looks at life as a series of problems to be solved. And now you have the tools. You have the map. The journey from who you are to who you want to be is paved with these simple, timeless truths. The rest is up to you. If this journey through ancient wisdom resonated with you, if you felt a whisper of truth in these old stories, perhaps you can help that wisdom travel a little further. By sharing your thoughts, you join a conversation that has been going on for 5,000 years. By joining this community, you walk alongside others who are also on this path. Thank you for walking it with me today. May your purse be ever fattening and your life be ever rich.